Good morning, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at the pitching for today, the 31st of May. It is Saturday. We do have a 9-game, main slate this afternoon to go with a 4-game evening slate. This is a first look at pitching options. I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you do play in FanDuel, I'll cut my pool into a half or so. You don't have to be as creative. Pricing isn't quite as tight. It allows you to get the stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Now, with all that said and done, let's take a look at what we got in front of us. My first look at the weather station for today. We're going to refresh it, make sure everything's accurate. Some light rain, Baltimore, Philadelphia. Probably not too much to worry about. Holy wind blowing in Philadelphia today. Very interesting. Wind blowing across the field in Baltimore. If that ends up blowing slightly out, it's going to be a great offensive park for the left-handed bats. Warm in Atlanta. Warm in Kansas City with slight winds blowing out. That's a new one. Decent spot, but it's also Tariq Skubal pitching in that game tonight. Wind blowing in Atlanta, that's not normal either. But aside from that, we're pretty good. Wind blowing in Cleveland and cold in the 50s. Probably a good spot for a certain pitcher in that game. We will get to them shortly. Let's jump to the main slate here. White Sox, Orioles. Obviously, weather could be an issue. Obviously, the White Sox suck. Obviously, Dean Kramer is very good. I'm just going to say obviously a lot. With that said, coming off of a strong start, multiple starts of allowing 0 runs over his last 5, so that's a positive. K-prop just 4.5. It's basically a pick'em, but he is plus 120 to earn the W, which is actually right behind Skubal's plus 115 on this particular slate. If Kodai Senga had a prop available, he would easily be the number 1. But very interesting to see Kramer at plus 120. He's not an attractive play from a eye appeal standpoint, but matchup says decent. And if we can get a little more idea on that wind direction exactly, if it's across the field and even slightly in, becomes a pretty interesting spot for Dean Kramer. Not that he's somebody I'm excited to be rostering. St. Louis, Texas. Game total of 8.5. Juice to the over. Sonny Gray does not have any props yet, which is weird. It's not. I don't think there's any issue with him or potential to miss the start or anything, but to see him without a prop is very interesting. He has 34 plus DK points in 2 out of his last 4 starts. Really strong starts mixed in with some really rough ones. Texas has had very little offense all season. I think we just have to use Sonny Gray. St. Louis minus 142 favorite. I do wish he had some K-props and win odds, but Patrick Corbin's K-prop 4.5 juice the under, plus 260 to earn the W, despite Texas being plus 120 underdogs. I wrote Corbin down, but I don't plan on using him. I just like to write him down to see what his props are showing at, because he has shown to be, not terrible so far this season, but I still just don't think he's in play for us. Against a team that can put the ball in play quite a bit. Milwaukee, Philadelphia. Milwaukee going to an opener kind of ruins my interest in Chad Patrick a little bit. He's been good the last 2 appearances. If he would have got wins in both, we'd be looking at 23 plus fantasy points. He's certainly viable. The way that the Brewers shut down the Phillies yesterday, very intriguing. And obviously we talked about the wind blowing in from left field in Philly. It's very interesting there. We just don't really see wind like that in Philadelphia. With that said, I just don't think we can use Patrick much. If I do, he's kind of the last man in as a sprinkle, like a gut feeling sprinkle. Luzardo, love the upside, back-to-back double-digit strikeout performances. Basically 24 plus fantasy points in all 3 of his last 3 starts. has been spectacular at home from an ERA standpoint. Just not getting the same wins. K rate is a little down, but his walk rate is down. He hasn't allowed a home run, etc. I like left-handed pitching against Milwaukee. Not as much as some of the other teams, but I do like left-handed pitching against Milwaukee. So we'll be utilizing Luzardo. K-prop is 6.5 juice to the under, which actually puts him tied for the 4th best K-prop on the slate. There are some solid K-props from a few guys. Boston, Atlanta. Schwellenbach is certainly in play because Boston does strike out. We will load up and refresh the K numbers here, just so that I don't quote anything incorrectly. 3rd most strikeouts in baseball on a per game basis. Striking out a ton over their last 3, as is Detroit, surprisingly. That's one I wouldn't have caught, but so maybe that comes into play here. But Schwellenbach definitely going to be a guy that we want to utilize. He did struggle a bit against Boston the first time he faced him, but he's been just lights out at home, really. His numbers just stronger when pitching at home so far. Trouble picking up W's, but coming off an 11K performance against a team that doesn't strike out all that much, allowing just 2 solo home runs, I think we have to go there. He's plus 125 during the W, so right behind Kramer, right behind Tariq Skubal, ahead of Robbie Ray, who's taking on the Marlins. Schwellenbach definitely in play, and I'm just not using Walker Buehler. Sorry, I'm just not going to do it. His big-time performance came against the White Sox. Solid against Toronto, but aside from those 2, he just hasn't been great. Walks, not a ton of strikeouts. Since coming back from the IL, just not going to get there. Angels, Cleveland. Now we have some weather, or cold weather, wind blowing in. I just can't use Kyle Hendricks. I'm sorry. If Kyle Hendricks beats me on this slate, so be it. I'll take the L. He's had one start where potentially could have been I wish I would have had him. But even then, as 3 strikeouts, I'll pass. Slate Ciccone, 2 starts with the Guardians since coming over in the offseason trade, I believe. He was scratched last time out and being pushed back. That's interesting, but 6 and 8 strikeouts in his first 2 performances of the season, and the Angels leading baseball in strikeouts per game. Not as much on the road, but still a high number on the road as well. Slate Ciccone, going to be one of my favorite guys to get overexposed to. K-prop of 5.5, juice to the under, which kind of shocked me. Game total of 8, juiced under as well. But somebody that I want to utilize. Colorado, the Mets. I don't think we have to say much about Kodai Senga. Use him. Last couple starts hasn't been super sharp. Walks have been an issue. Multiple walks in all but 1 start this season. That's annoying. But his K-prop's 7.5 as a pick'em. And like I mentioned earlier, he doesn't have a win prop, but the Mets are minus 380 favorites. Just have to love Senga. Super light rain chances, etc. But Senga obviously gets the dream matchup against Colorado. The one that we're just, at this point, I think almost blindly taking whatever pitcher is taking on Colorado. Now, the big spot to talk about. Tampa Bay, Houston. We get a left-handed pitcher taking on Tampa Bay. What are we going to do? Well, his K-prop's just 4.5 juice to the under. He's plus 230 to earn the W. Not great. His best start so far of the season came against Tampa Bay, where he struck out 7 in 5 1/3. He has shown some strikeout upside in the minors, but his other 2 starts aside from that just haven't been great. And even his start against Tampa Bay, he still allowed 3 runs. I didn't use him in that start against Tampa Bay, and I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the video. I just wasn't going to get there. I know he was certainly in play because left-handed pitching against Tampa Bay is a thing. We just saw Framber Valdez absolutely dominate last night. I might be off of the left-handed pitching against Tampa Bay in this scenario. It doesn't feel great, but I just feel like it might be the spot for me to just pass on it again. I just don't know if I see the upside for him on this particular slate. with some of the options we have, etc. I think it's kind of like a one-time deal. I mean, I guess with him it'd be a second time where I want to pass on the left-handed pitcher against Tampa Bay. Zach Littell, I don't think I'm going to get there. A right-hand heavy lineup in Toronto got to him. I don't know if those home runs were hit by lefties or not. I didn't dig in. But I just don't know if he has enough upside for us either. He could certainly be steady and put up a 20 fantasy point game. And sure, it could hurt to miss out on that. I just think we have enough guys that are going to outscore 20 on this slate. One of those guys, Tariq Skubal, obviously coming off of his first complete game shutout. Just 94 pitches, but still 9 innings. When the start before that, he threw 94 pitches in 5 2/3. Double-digit strikeouts in 3 of 4. Now, Kansas City normally hasn't been striking out, but they do have some games where they do strike out, and Skubal is just spectacular. He was strong against them. I guess solid against them. Didn't rack up fantasy points, but he's obviously weaker on the road, but still. Skubal, K-Prop is 6.5 juice to the over, which is tied for the second best K-Prop behind Senga. Plus 115, they're in the W. Game total just 7.5. On the other side, Waka becomes interesting because we see how much Detroit's striking out right now. So I am interested. Outscored Skubal in his one start against Detroit earlier. His numbers are far better when at home. Coming off a rough start, but still, I think Waka might be a sneaky addition to our pool. Both pitchers in San Francisco, Miami are going to be in play for me. I will gladly take Robbie Ray, who's been consistent lately. I don't really consider him a consistent pitcher, but his recent trends have been really solid. Low 20s to even low to mid 30s per start. Tough to ignore. K-Prop is 6.5. He's tied with Skubal. Plus 130 during the W. Game total 7.5. I think we just have to go with it. And Cabrera coming off of arguably his best start at the major league level. I don't remember if he's had anything better in the past, but easily his best start of the season. Obviously, that was against the Angels. San Francisco doesn't strike out the same amount, but still, I don't mind him in this spot. Plus 275 during the W, but K-Prop of 5.5 juice to the under. Miami's just plus 130 underdog, so he's certainly in play for me. But if you didn't want to use him, I wouldn't blame you at this point. Night slate-wise, Bailey Ober, Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller doesn't have a win prop odds as he is returning from the IL, but Seattle is minus 112 favorites. His K-Prop's 4.5 juice to the over, while Bailey Ober's 5.5 is basically a pick'em. Ober's plus 155 during the W. I like Ober enough because I think there are enough outs in the Seattle lineup. It is dangerous. They do have enough power, but he's in play for me. Bryce Miller, going to be in play, but I don't love it. He looked rough coming, leading up to his injury. And the fact that he didn't take a rehab assignment means we might have to be off of him because we don't know what kind of a pitch count he is going to see. Will Warren is about the only guy in this game that I consider is the only of the pitchers, just because his strikeouts have been there. So when strikeouts come together, maybe he can keep the ball in the park, work his way through the top of that Dodger lineup, and be a rewarding SP2. The reason SP1 for me is Dylan Cease. I'm just going to attack Pittsburgh. Cease is volatile. There's no doubt about it. Struggled against Pittsburgh the one time he faced them, but still much stronger when he's at home where he's at tonight. K-Prop is 7.5 juice to the under. He's plus 110 during the W. Everything lines up for Cease to be the SP1 on this slate. Washington, Arizona. Probably not going to get to Soroka, but I am interested in Fott. It is volatile. Home runs could be an issue. The game total is 10 in this one. Fott's K-Prop is at 4.5. It's basically a pick'em. But he's plus 145 during the W. So I don't mind sprinkles. Soroka, maybe, but I just don't want to use the right-handed pitching against Arizona in Arizona. So, but there we have it. There's our look at the games today. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I'll put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.